Have you ever felt just completely drained? Even after what should have been a full night's sleep? Yeah, we've all been there. But what if I told you the reason you're so tired has almost nothing to do with your body and everything to do with your mind? Well, today, we're diving into a powerful lesson from the legendary samurai Miyamoto Musashi on how to tap into what feels like limitless energy. So our story kicks off with this really interesting paradox. On one hand, you've got this young, super promising samurai named Takeshi. The guy outworks everyone, trains harder, sleeps less, and yet he is completely and totally burned out. And then on the other hand, you have Miyamoto Musashi, a man who fought and won over 60 life-or-death duels, wrote philosophy, made art, and somehow never seemed to run out of gas. So how is that possible? How does one guy burn out from discipline while the other just thrives on it? What in the world was Musashi's secret to this endless well of energy? That's the exact question we're going to answer right now. Okay, let's start by focusing on Takeshi. He shows up at his master's dojo with all the talent, all the ambition, and just an incredible work ethic. But, just 6 months later, he's basically a shell of his former self. He was exhausted in a way that was totally new to him. But see, Takeshi's problem wasn't just sore muscles from training. This was different. It felt like this deep internal burden, a kind of heaviness that no amount of sleep could ever fix. He'd wake up tired, train tired, and go to bed even more tired. So, one day, after a particularly rough sparring session, his mentor, Master Yama, pulls him aside. But he doesn't give him tips on his sword technique or tell him to get more rest. No. Instead, he gives him a diagnosis that would change literally everything for him. Master Yama looked at him and said this. He told him he was carrying invisible stones, these heavy mental burdens that were draining his spirit way more than any physical work ever could. So what were these stones? Well, the first stone was this constant, nagging need for approval. Every single move Takeshi made was, in some small way, about impressing his master, or his family, or the other students. He wasn't just training, he was performing. The second stone? Oh, this one's a biggie. It was comparison. In every single training session, he was just mentally measuring himself against everybody else. Am I better than him? Is he getting better faster than I am? This constant judgment was just this enormous weight on his shoulders. And then the final stones were overthinking and the fear of what others thought of him. Every little hesitation, every tiny attempt to look good, every moment he spent worrying instead of just doing, it was like adding another stone to the pile he was carrying. And here is the absolute key to all of this. Takeshi's mind was divided. You see, one part of his brain was trying to do the sword form, while the other part was watching and judging and performing for this imaginary audience in his head. And that mental split, as Master Yama explained, leaks energy faster than any physical effort ever could. So, the solution wasn't to build more strength to carry all these stones. Nope. The solution was to get rid of them completely. And this is the core idea behind Musashi's philosophy, the Dokodo, which is all about subtraction. Master Yama taught Takeshi this whole principle with a really simple lesson. He told him to pack a bag for a year-long trip into the mountains. Takeshi, of course, gathers this huge pile of gear. Then Yama just looks at it and says, "Now discard what is not useful. Keep only what you must have." Takeshi ended up with just his sword, one set of clothes, a blanket, and a bowl. That's it. And this, right here, is a perfect illustration of the Dokoro, which translates to the way of walking alone. Now, it's not about being lonely, it's about walking your own path, free from the useless weight of what other people expect, all the needless stuff you own, and those distracting thoughts. Okay, so how do you actually apply this stuff? Well, Master Yama gave Takeshi a series of really practical exercises to start shedding his own stones and get his energy back. This path to lightness was a 3-week process. The first week, he just observed his own mind, simply noticing every time he did something to get approval without judging himself. Week 2, he practiced single tasking. When you train, only train. When you eat, only eat. And in week 3, he actually sparred blindfolded, which forced him to react only to the present moment and broke that nasty habit of comparison. So, after months of this new kind of training, it was time for the real test. Takeshi was set to fight the dojo's top student, Hiroshi, a fighter who had always beaten him and always left him feeling completely exhausted. And the difference was just astounding. I mean, night and day.
Hiroshi fought to win. His mind was attached to the outcome, so his focus was divided, and his energy just leaked out of him. But Takeshi, he fought simply to be present. His mind was unified, and his energy just seemed to flow without any end. Just minutes into the duel, Hiroshi, who was supposedly the stronger fighter, was gasping for air, while Takeshi was still completely fresh.
And this brings us to the absolute core truth of this entire method. It hit Takeshi like a lightning bolt. Fatigue doesn't come from the action itself. It comes from the motivation behind the action. The why you do something, well, that's everything.
So when it comes right down to it, true sustainable energy isn't about pushing harder, it's about alignment. When your actions are aligned with your own true path, free from that need for approval or comparison, you don't leak energy. You actually become a conduit for it.
So why does any of this matter to you? I mean, you're probably not a samurai, but we all carry our own invisible stones, right? Things like our divided attention from trying to multitask all the time, the constant hunt for likes and external validation, resisting what's actually happening right now, or trying to be perfect at tasks that don't even matter. These are the things that are really making us tired. Musashi's secret wasn't some complicated technique. It was a radical, powerful simplification. He found limitless energy by just removing everything that served no real purpose. So the final question is for you. When you look at your own life, what's the first useless stone you're going to choose to set down today?